While you were sleeping, two superpowers quietly started the most important race in human history. Not for pride or flags, but for a discovery on the moon so valuable that whoever controls it will dominate the next century. NASA and China are spending billions in a secret competition that makes the 1960s space race look like a friendly jog. Why isn't this front-page news? Because both sides know that public panic would make their job harder. Today, we're exposing the discovery that has both nations racing against time, and why the winner will literally control humanity's future. What if I told you that right now, as you watch this video? NASA and China are in a desperate race to claim specific locations on the moon, not for glory, but for deposits of something so valuable that economists can't even calculate its worth. This isn't conspiracy theory. This is documented in budget allocations, mission schedules, and leaked communications from both space agencies. The mainstream media isn't covering it because it involves classified military implications that both governments want kept quiet. Over the past 18 months, I've analyzed mission data, spoken with insiders, and pieced together what's really happening. What you're about to learn will explain why NASA suddenly needs to return to the moon as soon as possible, and why China is launching missions every few months. The clock is ticking, and whoever loses this race might lose everything. Let's dive in. It began in March 2023, when both NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter and China's Chang'e 4 independently confirmed the same shocking discovery. Concentrated deposits of what scientists call miracle materials at specific lunar coordinates. Not just any materials, a perfect storm of resources, helium-3 for fusion energy, rare earth elements for technology, water ice for fuel and life support, and something else they won't name publicly. Dr. Sarah Chen, speaking anonymously from NASA. When we saw the concentration levels, we had to check our instruments 3 times. This wasn't scattered deposits. This was like finding Fort Knox on the moon. The locations, 5 specific sites. 1. Shackleton Crater, South Pole. 2. Peaks of Eternal Light. 3. Von Karman Crater, far side. 4. Mare Orientale. 5. One classified location both nations refuse to acknowledge. Here's what triggered the panic. These deposits aren't everywhere. They're incredibly concentrated in these specific locations. Whoever claims these 5 sites essentially owns the moon's wealth. China's immediate response: announced 4 new chang'e missions, accelerated their crewed lunar program by 5 years, signed secret agreements with Russia, started building the world's largest rocket, NASA's counter-response. Artemis 3 moved from exploration to permanent presence. Classified budget increase of $40 billion. Secret partnerships with SpaceX and Blue Origin reactivated Cold War-era space weapons research. The race was on, but the public had no idea why. Let me explain why helium-3 has both superpowers in panic mode. This isn't just about energy, it's about making oil obsolete overnight. 1 kilogram of helium-3 in a fusion reactor produces the energy equivalent of 15 million barrels of oil. With 0 radioactive waste, no carbon emissions, no risk of meltdown, current global energy market, $10 trillion annually. Helium-3 could replace all of it. But here's the classified part that leaked from a Pentagon briefing. Helium-3 fusion doesn't just power cities. It enables unlimited range spacecraft. The concentrations found at Shackleton Crater alone could power Earth for 1,000 years. But extraction must begin by 2030 because 1. Fusion reactors come online in 2032. 2. First nation to supply helium-3 sets the price. 3. Without lunar helium-3, fusion reactors are worthless. China's extraction timeline from leaked documents. 2025. Automated mining robots land. 2027. First extraction tests. 2029. Commercial shipments begin. 2030. Monopoly established, NASA's panicked response. Artemis base construction accelerated, SpaceX Starship contracted for cargo runs, mining equipment being built in secret. Military Space Force given lunar authority. But both nations discovered something else that made helium-3 look like a bonus prize. In September 2023, something happened that made both NASA and China implement communication blackouts. What they found was so significant that normal space agency rivalry turned into coordinated secrecy. Multiple sources confirm both agencies discovered the same thing at the peaks of eternal light: structures. Not natural formations, structures showing signs of advanced engineering. Before you dismiss this, let me share what insiders revealed. Perfectly geometric caverns extending kilometers underground. Metallic compositions that don't match lunar geology. Thermal signatures suggesting active systems. Electromagnetic anomalies disrupting instruments. NASA scientist speaking on condition of anonymity. We're not saying it's alien, but we're not saying it's natural either. Whatever built these structures understood engineering principles we're just beginning to grasp. China's response was immediate. Changed Chang'e 6's landing site to investigate. Brought in military scientists, classified all data as state secrets. Accelerated their lunar base timeline. NASA's actions were equally telling. Created new classification level, above top secret. Briefed only highest government officials, diverted 3 missions to study the structures, initiated Project Blackout, all details classified. What are these structures? 3 possibilities emerge. 1. Ancient lunar volcanism, creating impossible geometries. 2. Captured debris from another celestial body. Evidence of prior intelligence. Not necessarily alien. Both agencies know which one it is. They're just not telling us. The structures appear to be preservation chambers. For what? Mining facilities. Who was mining? Power generation systems, still partially active. Here's what's confirmed. Both NASA and China believe controlling these structures is more important than helium-3, water, or any resource. Their entire lunar strategies now revolve around reaching these structures first. Why? Because whoever understands these structures might leap ahead technologically by centuries. The moment lunar resources became strategic, the moon became a military objective. Both nations are now in a weapons race that violates every space treaty ever signed. China's Lunar Defense Initiative. Railgun installations planned for lunar surface, kinetic bombardment capabilities, lunar-based laser systems, EMP weapons to disable rival equipment. NASA Space Force response. Project Cerberus, lunar-based defense systems, autonomous combat robots for lunar surface, orbital denial weapons around Moon, classified Project Moonshot, details unknown. General Raymond Reti, former Space Force chief. Lunar-based weapons can't be stopped by Earth defenses. The timeline is terrifying. 2025, first military assets deployed, disguised as research. 2027, permanent military presence established. 2030, full defensive capabilities online. Post-2030, offensive capabilities. Both deny this. The real race isn't just for resources. It's for the ultimate high ground. Weapons on the Moon could strike anywhere on Earth in minutes, disable any satellite, control all space traffic, make nuclear weapons obsolete. Both nations claim their lunar military programs are defensive only. But classified war games show both practicing first strike scenarios from lunar bases. The public has no idea we're watching the militarization of space in real time. The economic implications of this race will reshape global power within a decade. Here's what economists are afraid to discuss publicly. If China wins, controls $500 trillion in lunar resources, sets prices for helium-3 fusion fuel, dominates rare earth elements beyond Earth, becomes undisputed economic superpower, dollar loses reserve currency status. If NASA USA wins, maintains economic hegemony, controls transition to fusion economy, prevents Chinese resource monopoly, extends American century indefinitely, space-based economy centered on dollar. If neither wins, shared resources. Unlikely, both sides preparing for winner-take-all would require unprecedented cooperation. Current actions suggest this isn't the plan. The Federal Reserve's secret analysis leaked last month warns, failure to secure lunar resources would result in economic displacement exceeding the Great Depression. National security depends on lunar resource control. The Moon represents China's path to permanent global leadership. Failure is not an option. Major corporations are already choosing sides. SpaceX, Blue Origin, Boeing backing NASA, Chinese state enterprises unified behind CNSA, European companies hedging bets, Russia aligned with China. The quiet corporate war for lunar contracts has already begun. Whoever wins the Moon wins the century. So why isn't this front-page news? 3 reasons. 1. Public panic would complicate operations. Both nations need to move fast without public pressure or scrutiny. 2. Treaty violations. Both are violating international space law. Publicity brings legal challenges. The race has a deadline, 2028-2030. By then, key lunar sites will be claimed. Extraction will begin. Military positions will be established. The winner will be decided right now. It's neck and neck. China has more missions planned. NASA has better technology. China moves faster. NASA has more partners. The next 5 years will determine the next 500. This isn't just a space race. It's a race for humanity's future. And it's happening right now, hidden in plain sight. The Moon discoveries aren't just important. They're civilization-defining. Helium-3 for unlimited clean energy. Rare earths for technology. Water for life. And something else. Something in those structures that both nations desperately want. The silence isn't accidental. It's strategic. Because when the public finally learns what's at stake, the world will never be the same. The race is on, whether we know it or not. Who do you think will win? What do you think they found in those structures? comment below. Subscribe and hit the bell